And our first phone call comes from Stockbridge, Massachusetts, Democrats line. Michael is our caller. Go ahead, please.
Sir, you lack credibility because I remember in the beginning of the Iraq War, you were very supportive of Rumsfeld and his incompetent policies, while many of the liberal Democrats were saying you're completely taking your eye off the ball in Afghanistan and going into a war in Iraq in an incredibly incompetent way, and you were completely supportive of the Bush policy. So I just want to know why we should take you seriously now when you're saying what a bad job Obama's doing, when I never ever heard you say what a bad job Bush or Rumsfeld were doing when they were getting American troops killed from not listening to Colin Powell and going in with too few troops in an incredibly incompetent way. And now that Obama's doing it right in Afghanistan, I just hear a lot of attacks. So thank you very much. I'd like to hear your response.
Well, sure. A couple things. I don't know whether you've been listening over the last 10 or 15 minutes or you're just going off on what you expected to hear from me, but I've actually been praising Barack Obama's policy in Afghanistan. But you're exactly right. I was too supportive of the Rumsfeld policy in Iraq for way too long. It was a horrendous mistake. I began to realize that belatedly in around the summer of 2006. I reversed course, I admitted my mistake, and I began to advocate the surge well before it was implemented. So you're right, I was wrong for a long time there. I regret that. But the fact is, counterinsurgency works. It requires more troops than Don Rumsfeld wanted to commit to the fight, or at least his generals were willing to ask him for. But once you have those troops and you secure the population, then that's the foundation of everything else. And that's the lesson we've learned in Iraq. One of the ironies of the Iraq war debate is, you're right, a lot of Democrats were saying for a long time, we need more troops there. And as soon as Bush began to consider actually sending them, then every Democrat pretty much in the country reversed course and said they opposed this and this was the worst mistake in American history. Well, of course, it turned out to be a success that saved the Iraq war.
Is Tampa, Florida, independent line, and our caller is Mary. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning. I have to sort of amend my question a little bit because somebody asked part of it, so bear with me a second. I have a question for you, ma'am, and then one for him. I'd like to know why, if you had a car, ma'am, and it broke down and you took it to your dealer and it kept breaking down and breaking down, wouldn't you change dealers? Why do you keep bringing these neocons on? You got him on for 45 minutes this morning. Yesterday I listened to a lady from that so-called American Enterprise Institute. All she talked about is we've got to keep the war and armaments and all this stuff up. This failed. We have death in our country, these young people. We have decline, steep decline. I'm near 70. We have deep debt. And you keep bringing on failed policy. There are over 300 million people in this country, ma'am. And I can assure you the people I know are all for America. They are for to bring this country up, not to tear it down through war, debt, destruction. This young man, very young, sits here and keeps saying, we have to go over there and do this. Why isn't he in uniform? That's my one question. And my third thing is, on the surge, he mentioned we had more troops. Of course, if you have more guns there, you've got a chance. Number two, that one of your callers called in and said something about the fact we paid the warlords, which was absolutely a big, big event. And the third thing, ma'am, is this is what we're going to have to deal with. This is what we, the American people, have to worry about of the 2 million or more Iraqis that were displaced. If you move 200 million people out of an area, that's going to reduce your crime or whatever. And those people are walking around in Arab countries looking for a home. They have children without a home. They're going into Europe. Europe is helping us out by taking many of these people in. I know. I've been to Europe, and I have seen it. And I am ashamed to call myself an American when I go there because I believe in the Constitution. I also believe in Christianity, where you don't go out and drop bombs on your enemy.
Mary,
you work out with them. Ma'am, I would like you to tell me why we're still using this car dealer who has failed America, and I would like to know why.
Mary, you've made your point. Thank you very much for your call from Tampa, Florida. Mr. Lowry, what would you like to say to our caller?
Well, since I wasn't called a traitor, I think it was a pretty calm and cool call, given some of what we've heard this morning. I don't really know what to start. It was a long rant with a lot in there. Look, she said, why can't we just work with these people? If we could work with these people, that would be fantastic, and we would do it. But unfortunately, you have to apply military force in these situations. When you do apply military force, it actually opens up vistas to work with elements of the insurgency you split off, as we did in Iraq and creating the Sons of Iraq, which we did pay. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why liberals seem to be so outraged about that, or seem to think that you can just go around the world paying off all our enemies and inevitably it'll work. It has to be in a specific context where you first demonstrate that we can control the security situation on the ground and make it very expensive for these young men who take up arms against us by killing a certain percentage of them. Then the others will get the message and they'll come along and they'll be willing to work with you, and that's what we're trying to do in Afghanistan. And again, I salute President Barack Obama for seeing the reality of this, for taking it seriously, and committing the national resources to the fight. It was absolutely the right thing to do.